Welcome to Rescue Paws Stories, your go-to place for heartwarming and emotional humans and animals stories. In a remote village nestled deep within the snow-blanketed forests of Alaska, there lived an old woman named Mabel. She was a widow in her 80s, with silver hair always tucked beneath a woolen shawl and hands worn from years of tending to her small, creaky cabin. She lived alone, or so the townsfolk thought. Mabel had a companion, a creature few dared approach, a massive grey wolf named Asher. Asher had come into her life 15 winters ago during a blizzard. Mabel had heard faint cries outside her cabin, and when she opened the door, she found a half-frozen wolf pup trembling in the snow. Despite knowing the dangers, she took him in, wrapped him in an old blanket, and fed him warm broth. He survived the night, and every night thereafter, curled at her feet by the fire. The bond between them was nothing short of mystical. Asher grew into a majestic and towering creature with piercing amber eyes. But he never posed harm. He followed Mabel like a loyal hound, helped her gather firewood, and even guarded her garden from bears. People in town whispered that the wolf was unnatural, too intelligent, too human. Children were forbidden from going near Mabel's home, but some brave souls swore they saw Asher nuzzle her hand or bring her a scarf she had dropped. Years passed quietly until one bitter morning when smoke no longer rose from Mabel's chimney. A concerned postman knocked on her door and received no answer. Days later, authorities found Mabel peacefully passed away in her sleep, her hand resting gently on Asher's fur. But the wolf did not leave her side. When they tried to take her body, Asher growled and snapped with a grief none could comprehend. They had to wait until the next morning when he had vanished. No one knew where he went. Days turned into weeks, and Asher was declared gone, another legend of the North. But that winter, something strange began to happen. Every month, on the date of her death, villagers would find hand-carved wooden figurines of Mabel placed on the steps of the local church. Alongside them, a bouquet of wildflowers, ones that only grew near her cabin. Once, someone left a camera hidden in the trees. It captured a massive wolf emerging from the woods at dawn, gently placing the offerings, then fading back into the mist. A scientist from the city caught wind of the story and traveled to the village. He tracked Asher for weeks, leaving food, attempting to befriend him. Eventually, the wolf allowed him near, long enough for the man to fit him with a GPS collar. What he discovered stunned him. Asher visited not only the church, but the cemetery where Mabel was buried, the school where she once taught children, and even the town's nursing home. He would sit there quietly outside for hours, as if paying homage to everything Mabel had cared about. More mysteriously, animals began appearing near the village. Rescued, injured foxes, starving raccoons, even another wolf pup one year. It was as though Asher was continuing Mabel's legacy of compassion. Then one spring, the GPS signal vanished. Locals assumed the worst. But come December 12th, Mabel's birthday, fresh paw prints were found in the snow outside the church, and another wooden figurine, this time shaped like a heart, was discovered. No one saw the wolf again. Some believe he died in peace. Others say he watches still, hidden in the trees, guarding the soul of the only human who ever showed him love. And in the village, people no longer feared wolves. Instead, they whispered stories of Mabel and Asher by firelight, teaching children about kindness, devotion, and the silent language between hearts that transcends species, and even death. Years passed, and though many faces in the village changed, the story of Mabel and Asher was never forgotten. Children who once listened wide-eyed to their parents' tales grew up retelling the same story to their own kids. Mabel's cabin, though old and weathered, remained untouched. No one dared to tear it down. Instead, it became a quiet place of pilgrimage, a monument to love between an old woman and a wolf. One summer, a group of teenagers hiking near the cabin heard soft rustling from within. Curious but cautious, they peered through the dusty windows and saw something remarkable. On the floor, right where Mabel's bed had once been, lay a collection of bones. Not human, but clearly those of animals, arranged neatly, purposefully. And there, beside them, was a worn piece of Mabel's shawl. The teenagers fled in awe, telling the town elders what they had seen. A local historian decided to officially preserve the cabin, and upon clearing the space gently, they discovered a hollow beneath the floorboards. Inside were dozens of wooden carvings, wolves, birds, bears, and of course, figurines of Mabel herself. It was clear Asher had been crafting these tributes for years, leaving some around town and hiding others near her memory. How a wolf could carve with such precision, no one could understand. Some speculated he had learned by watching her hands move, while others believed something spiritual had taken root in him. As time rolled on, people from other towns, even cities, came to hear the story. Animal behaviorists, poets, filmmakers. A documentary was made, titled The Wolf Who Remembered, and it touched millions. Donations flooded the village to help preserve the cabin and create a sanctuary around it. The villagers agreed any injured or orphaned wild animal found would be brought to Asher's Grove, a safe haven established in the clearing near the cabin. A strange thing began to happen. Animals brought their healed quicker. Wolves that had never been domesticated seemed calmer. Children who came to visit said they often felt like they were being watched, but not in a scary way. And sometimes at dusk, people swore they saw a great grey wolf on the ridge, his amber eyes glowing like twin suns before he turned and vanished into the misty trees. One elderly man, who had known Mabel in her youth, claimed that he once saw two figures at the edge of the forest, an old woman in a shawl and a giant wolf standing by her side. They didn't move. They simply watched over the sanctuary below, as if guarding the legacy they had created. The legend of Mabel and Asher became more than a story. It became a symbol of the idea that love, pure, selfless love, can reach across boundaries, between species, between worlds, and echo long after we are gone. That even a wolf, born wild, could become gentle in the presence of kindness, and that when hearts truly connect, not even death can erase the bond. And so, every year on the day of Mabel's passing, the townspeople still find a single wooden carving at the church steps. No footprints, no signs of who left it. Only that soft, knowing silence and the faint howl of a wolf in the distance. One particularly bitter winter evening, a young journalist named Clara arrived in the village. She had heard whispers of the legend from her grandmother, who once lived nearby, and she wanted to experience the place for herself. Clara wasn't just chasing a story. She was mourning. Her mother had died only months ago, and the pain was still raw, heavy on her heart. Something about Mabel and Asher's tale had touched her deeply. As she walked through the frost-covered sanctuary of Asher's Grove, she noticed the calm. Not silence, but a peaceful stillness, like the forest itself was holding its breath. The trees creaked gently in the wind. The birds watched her quietly. And then, near the old cabin, she saw him. A massive wolf, silver-grey and majestic, stood at the tree line. His eyes met hers, not with threat, but with recognition. Clara froze. The wolf stepped forward, then sat down slowly, his amber gaze locked with hers. And in that moment, Clara wept, not from fear, but from something deeper. The wolf didn't run. He stayed, watching her, comforting her with stillness. She sat in the snow across from him, and somehow the grief lifted, just a little. A warmth filled her chest, as though Mabel herself were wrapping her arms around her. The wolf stood, turned, and vanished into the woods. When Clara looked down, she saw something left in the snow, a small wooden carving of a woman holding a wolf cub. Clara returned to the city, but not without leaving something behind, a letter tucked into the doorframe of the cabin. To whoever still guards this place, thank you. You reminded me that love, in any form, never really dies. Years passed. The town changed. New families moved in, but the grove remained protected. Strange sightings continued. Children who got lost found their way back with stories of a giant dog guiding them. Injured animals left at the grove would heal and disappear. And once, during a terrible forest fire that threatened the village, a sudden wind shifted the flames away, just in time. A firefighter later said he saw a huge wolf standing at the ridgeline, howling into the smoke before vanishing. Legends grew. Was it truly Asher's spirit guarding the village, or simply nature honoring those who honored it? One thing was certain. Mabel's love had not only saved a wild creature, it had created a protector, a guardian, and a lasting legacy. In loving a wolf like a son, she had transformed a piece of the world. And now, whenever the moon is full and snow dusts the forest floor, villagers say you can hear two howls, one deep and powerful, one soft and ancient, echoing through the trees. Together, always together, because some bonds never break. Years drifted on like leaves in the wind, but the legend of Mabel and Asher only grew stronger. In the village school, children no longer feared wolves. They wrote stories about them, painted them, and spoke of them as guardians. One girl even claimed that, after her father passed away, she dreamt of a glowing wolf sitting by her window, keeping her company until morning. Her mother wept when she heard, because the girl had never been told about Asher. A group of conservationists later visited the area to investigate rumors of the ghost wolf. They found no concrete evidence, but they reported an unusually high number of recovered injured animals in the region, and they left behind signs reading, "Respect the grove, you're not alone here." No one ever removed them. Then one spring evening, Clara, the journalist who once met Asher, returned, now older, wiser, and carrying a small box. She walked to the cabin, now moss-covered and part of the forest, and buried the box beneath the old oak. Inside were her mother's ashes and a letter that read, "To Mabel and Asher, for showing me that grief can become grace, and that love doesn't fade, it transforms. May your spirits guide her too." As if in answer, a low, mournful howl rose from the forest that night. The wind carried it across the trees, through the homes of the village, and into every heart that still believed in something greater, something gentle, something wild and true. And far beyond the hills, where stars shimmered on the snow and moonlight kissed the trees, two figures ran through the forest together. One wolf, silver and strong, and one woman, her white dress fluttering like mist. Together again, forever.